Date is October 1st, 2000, and we're going to be interviewing Bernard Auberg.
So it was always kind of cute. Anyway.
So how you been?
Oh, I don't know. No, he's bragging about it because he ain't that good. I was going to say, I know you got that picture here someplace, you know. See, that's out there. But I know everybody on there except the depot agent. There's a question mark on him, I guess.
Do you remember that building there?
Oh, yeah.
What did they generally really use it for? Who managed it? Who owned it? Or
the village owned it. And there was all this land around it belonged to the village. Yeah, they called it the tourist park, but that's where you got information when you come into Withee if you needed information. That's what they got there.
Was that right on the corner by the highway?
It was where City Hall is on X there. Village.
Yeah.
And garage is there. They sold it to Dennis now, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it was.
Was that part of the Yellowstone Trail? Was 29?
Yep.
That was?
Yep. 29 is the Yellowstone Trail, and I'm sure it went right through here, but I can't figure out. They said it came in on the North Curtis Road into Owen.
Yeah.
But to me it didn't seem that way. It seemed to me it come from Amherst in from the south. And it only went down there before you get to the road tracks. It made a left and went down and came out right where 29 is now. But the farms that was in there, I know the guy made whiskey is Satala. It's something like Satalowitz. Joe's. Yeah, anyway, he used to be the booze maker. And then the Devine family was raised in there. Morris and George and Jack and Jim and those 5 boys. They lived right in there. Had a little farm in there.
There used to be a silo that stood there for a long time.
That wasn't there. That was where the whiskey guy lived.
Oh.
Yeah, but the Devines lived in and none of them were married when I knew them. I think that was sure a bunch of boys. They could write a history book. I don't know if I ever talked to you about them guys or not, but you know what that George would do, you know, he was an electrician, but he had slot machines them days, but you know, they're out in the country. There wasn't like it is today, you know, in dimes and quarters. And I don't think they had dimes, I know, nickels. Maybe they had quarters, but anyway, that George Devine, he figured out a way of doing it. He dressed up like an old lady, and he put an A battery on him here, and he'd stoop way over, because that A battery was heavy them days, you know. It was only 6 volts, you know. Anyway, he'd do that, and then there was 3 other guys with him, I guess it was. Anyway, he was dressed up like the old lady, and they went into these joints, different places, and he had a magnet right here that would pull it. When you played the slot machine, it'd hold it open, and you get all the money out of it, you know. And he did that. I don't know how many times he done it, but this one night, they must have been waiting for him or so, and anyway, they had a few guys there that was going to whip these guys when they beat the slot machine. So they started fighting, and anyway, they are probably good scrappers, but somebody says, boys, I never seen an old lady fight like that. Here was young George Devine. He was only probably 20-some-5 or 30 years old. He probably never seen an old lady fight like that.
When would that have been?
Oh, boy. Well, I tell you, I think it was in the very early 30s in there someplace. Yeah, because, you know...
Pre-depression?
Yeah, no probation, you know, them days, you know, there was no... You could make your own beer and whiskey, but if you got caught, you know, they'd go to jail.
Yeah.
But my dad made a lot of home brew, but they didn't get him because he had 6 kids. They didn't want him in jail, you know. So...
A lot of people made their own...
Oh, I could tell you where the brewers were, because I used to haul the stuff out there. Wally Haviland just died. He was 90-some years old. And he had a brewery in his basement. He was a single man then. That's Ben Hill's father-in-law, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
they made a law that they couldn't really enforce that well. Prohibition.
Well, you see, they made a law that you could make your own if you drank your own, but you couldn't sell it. See, there was no tax, I suppose. Well, that's what they ought to do with dope today. you know, that's so bad. They spend millions every year, $1 billion, to catch everybody with the dope. When you catch them, what do? They can't do nothing with them much anyway. Even they don't prosecute them very heavy. But if they would legalize dope like they did whiskey and beer in the early 30s, then at least you could control it, see? Because then you have a tax on it. And if you don't pay the tax, then it's tax evasion. Then there's a penalty.
Yeah.
But the way it is now, they don't care. The officers handled it, so what are you going to do? You know, I know they do. They buy and sell, you know, a lot of it.
It's recycled.
Yeah, I don't know what they call it, but it's, anyway.
Yeah, when they make a arrest or a catch of hundreds of pounds of stuff, what happens to that stuff? You know?
Well, the county must take it in, and I do think they burn up most of it. Maybe some of them might use it, I don't know. But then there's a lot of money goes with that, too. And they take all their vehicles, they take everything. And that's only fair. That's all right, as long as that's a law. But that isn't the way to enforce the law, I don't think. And so many people get killed over dope, you know. They just... you know, if the truth is known, them young people, I think a lot of them use it, and I think a lot of them, maybe up at your age even, use it yet because they had it when they were young, you know. I looked for it here a while ago. I said, I want to feed my wife some of that. Maybe she'll be better. And I think she would be probably better. You know, it does help. I'm not against legalizing it. No, I'm not against that.
I think our entertainment people make such a glamorous thing about it, be it the movie stars or athletes or whatever, and I think that has an influence.
They got to be, most of them are using it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And they overdo it. Well, look at our good singer that, you know, Elvis, you know, he died from it, you know. And I think it's terrible. I don't like it the way it is, but if you're going to change it, I think you got to legalize it, then you have a right to go and check on people. I don't know. I don't have answers anymore. But, you know, these people here, Frankie, you know, like they said, that's Pete Hansen. That was Louise's father, you know.
The photographer.
Yeah, he was a photographer. Well, what did it say then? That's Pete Hansen, Catherine Hansen, and Charlie Berger. Catherine Hansen. That might have been his wife, because I know she was crippled up toward last, you know, but that might be her. This here was Charlie Berger.
Was he the druggist? Or the...
Yeah, he was the father to Rudy Berger.
Okay.
And then next to him was Mrs. John Christensen. It's Charlie Berger and Mrs. John Christensen. See, they owned the feed mill.
That's Jimmy's mom.
That was Jimmy's mother, yeah. Jim was the only boy. And that's his mother, yeah. She came from, her name was Hansen. She came from Thorpe. But anyway, that was her. Well, here was, I think, yeah, see, there was an agent, and I don't know him, but there was a guy named Milton Daly. That was that was Mr. Daly and Mrs. Daly. Yeah, they had 4 girls, and they were about as pretty as 4 girls as you could find. They were always, I think one was younger than me and the rest were older. But
what did they Daly's do?
Daly, he was the conductor on what they called a scoot.
Okay.
That train they used to run from Owen to Superior. Okay. He was on there. He run that. The women didn't work out them days, but he was a conductor on there. Ooh. And I moved that couple and their kids to Duluth when he moved to Duluth. And it's such a hilly country. I had trouble with that. I couldn't get up to the house even to get the furniture unloaded. I remember that was. Of course, he had so many troubles them days. One more didn't make much difference. Anyway, that was the Dailies there. Well, then this here was
John Stevenson.
John Stevenson. He built the Burhops.
Oh, the garage.
That big garage. Why would they build them that big them days? Look at the traffic today compared to them days. And John Stevenson had a very big garage. That whole wall. Yeah. And why would he have built it them days? I can't believe it. But that was John Stevenson. That was a good man. But I think his wife died young. I don't think. Yeah, this is key.
Nothing there before he built the garage.
Well, he built that. I can't remember when they built it, but it was pretty new, I think. I think it must have built in the early 20s someplace.
Was he a dealer then, too?
Yeah. Well, he got to be a dealer, but how many different deals? They had Chevrolet in there, but they had other ones in there, too. Because they had Chevrolet in Jeannie Merton's building, too, you know. Virginia.
Yeah.
There was Chevrolet in there too after John Stevenson. I don't know if they take it away from you or if they didn't want it in there. I don't know what happened. But he might have been selling Nash cars yet or something. But John Stevenson, see, that's who Dorothy and Victor Nielsen stayed with him when they were young, and then their dad stayed there too. I think they were relatives. I mean, I think they were. John Stevenson, one guy I'd stick up for any time. And then
Mrs. Keel.
Mrs. Keel, yeah. And then
There's a question.
And then they didn't know this guy. Well, I wouldn't know him either. Mrs. Keel, and then there was a question mark.
Right.
And that ain't old Keel, I don't think. But, of course, Keel wasn't a very big man either. But these guys all look so short. Pete Hansen was a big man, I know that. But then this and here is a question mark.
And then it's Mrs. Berger.
And then it's Mrs. Berger. And Chris Matson, yeah.
Chris Matson.
He built the post office.
That brick building?
Yeah, up further, he built that.
Which post office? The one next to the barber shop, or the one up further by the Doc Johnson's?
The one that Konwinsky owns now, then.
The brick one.
Yeah, that's where Doc Johnson was
Rob
in.
Isfeld's office now.
Yeah, that's the one. This Chris Matson built that.
Was he from Owen, or was he?
No, he lived right where Herb Werman is now.
Oh.
You know where?
Yeah.
That's where Chris Matson. And he had a daughter that married Al Thorson, young Al Thorson. I remember that. And then he had a. You see, these Matsons I get them mixed up. Matt Matson was the wrestler, and his daughter was up to George Sorensen's sisters doing here on Saturday. Matt Matson's youngest daughter came up there for the sake of the party. And I remember Matt Matson. They owned the place where Benny and Tootie lived for quite a few years, the old house they just fixed up. Now, did you see that house?
With the big stairs?
Yeah. Did you see that? Isn't that nice now?
Yeah.
They got to paint the wall in the basement. Boy, they did a nice job. But it was either Green Thumb or Weatherization come in and done it. Somebody had to, because they couldn't afford it.
Now, there were Matsons at Owen, too, a family.
Yeah, there was Pete Matson's and his dad. I knew his dad, too. But, this here Matson up here was the construction guy. And then Matt Matson's dad, I knew him, too, but they lived over there at Toonie, like that house they just fixed up. That was theirs. But now, when it comes to this George Sorensen's folks and them Matsons, and there was Sorensen's in on there, it's hard for me to keep track of who married who.
Yeah.
But Matt Matson married Carrie Sorensen. I think she was Ted Sorensen's sister. Ted Sorensen married John Jelling's sister. And Axel Sorensen's wife was Matt Matson's sister. You see why a guy can get so confused. And I might not be right on all of them, but I think them are right.
Yeah.
Then there was a Chris Matson. That was Matt Matson's brother. He married this Matson's daughter, Chris Matson. Yeah, I think that's who she was. They moved away. Eddie Bergstrom's brother, Harvey Bergstrom, married one of these Matson girls, I think. He drowned near Stevens Point. Eddie Bergstrom's brother. You'd never remember that.
No.
It was Harvey Bergstrom. So when
Did they live in Owen?
I don't know. Well, Harvey Bergstrom lived in Stevens Point, but he was born just north of town, where Chris Beck was. That was the Bergstrom farm, where Chris Beck was. Yeah, that's the Bergstrom farm. And their dad got killed on this railroad track here before they put the bells on or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the same accident that Chris Beck's father was in, and a guy named Billy Hansen. Billy Hansen and Bergstrom got killed. There was no
crossing.
And this Billy Hansen drove a Model T, and he never looked any place. He wouldn't stop for anything, and went across there. And them trains come in here at 65 miles an hour them days. No warning of anything. See, And so he got, I seen that accident. I seen a lot of those accidents.
About what year would that have been?
Oh boy, that had to be in the middle 20s someplace. I would say
that many trains came through?
Oh, we had a lot of them.
Yeah.
There was passengers train that came 4 in the morning, and some come 9 in the forenoon, and then one would come at probably 11:30, and the other one at 12:30. Going different directions sometime. But they had, and they would travel fast. Yeah. I don't know if I ever told you this, but I helped put the first warning signal on this crossing. I was on the village board. It was in about 47, I'd say that was.
Right after the war.
Yeah. I was on the village board, and then I moved out on that farm of Swen Jensen's, up here. And then I was not on the village board anymore, so... But we had made application for that bell to put on there, or a signal. And we were going to have so they all decided they were going to have a hearing in that fire hall Withee's got. So we had the hearing in the fire hall, and the railroad men came, and the public service men come, and, Chubby Alberts was on the board, and a few other ones, I don't know who they were, but when they heard all this was going on, just because we made application, Chubby says, we'll never get it anyway. He said, we'll never get it. We tried it before, and I know they tried it before. I said, we'll get it. So, in the meantime, I had moved out in the country. I shouldn't be on the village board, see. But Chubby says to me, what are you going to do? He says, you started this. He says, why don't you got to be in there for that meeting? And I said, well, I am not in the village no more. So we talked it over, and I said, don't tell anybody. Just make them think I'm still on the village board. And we did, and we got by with it. The guy, although he didn't ask me that. He asked me a lot of questions, but they didn't ask me that. So anyway, when we got all done, the public service guy, he asked one question, and he says, what's the speed limit through Withee? He said to the railroad guys, and of course that was the trick right there. And they said 55. The public service guy says, is that for the passengers? He said, no. He says, what is that? That's 65. With no signals anyplace, So that was good, and that was all I needed. When we went outside, I knew that no. Then he said something about, what, can they pass an ordinance in Withee controlling the speed? And they said yes. And that would have been 15 miles an hour. And the railroad didn't want that, see. So when we got outside, everybody said, that's the last you hear of that. And I said, didn't you guys hear that last questions, They didn't pay attention. But that railroad, they put the bell up there shortly afterward, within a couple of months or so.
Did the trains blow their whistle for crossings then, too? But
yeah, okay. They say they shouldn't now, but I'll tell you, the train was there long before those people were there.
Yeah.
And if you ever had a kid killed on that railroad track, you'd want the whistle to blow. I think you would. And I think they should, but I think they never had these bars. And nobody looks for the bells or the lights even a lot of times. But those bars that come down, that's all right if you don't get caught between them. Because, boy, that's dangerous too.
And the multi-tracks especially.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So you ain't got room in there. Well, I think...
tourist thing, that was owned by the village?
Yep.
Did somebody was there somebody in there with the information? Or was
there seemed to me... they might have had City Hall in there for all I know.
Oh.
I don't know, but there was somebody there most of the time, or at least weekends or holidays or something where they can get information. But it used to have signs, tourist information around there, And it was a nice thing. And that piece of property, like I say, the city, that's what Joe Caraba bought that from the village. But I had to, you remember Joe Caraba?
Yeah.
When he moved into the area, he bought that little filling station from Dick Nielsen. Dick had it first. I got to start a little earlier than that. When they were going to get rid of this building here, I wanted to buy that piece of property. And Chubby was the boss, and I guess I had cars them days, I already was a competitor of Chubby, and he got the village, I wasn't on the village board then, and he wouldn't let the village board sell me that piece of property. He says, in the books, he said, it says that the village will never sell that property. So I said, well, no use buying it. Well, when Joe Caraba come to town, he bought the station from Dick Nielsen, and the village had gotten this property and sold it to Standard Oil. you know, because Standard Oil was pretty thick with Chubby and Edgar and Altenberg and them guys. So they built the Standard Oil station there, and that's the one Joe Carrabba bought, and that's the station that stands there yet today.
Dick Nielsen's one that built the station, had the station built, and then Joe bought it from him.
Well, somebody built it for Dick, or he might have done it. I don't know. I don't remember
or maybe
that.
Standard Oil helped.
You're talking about where the...
Where this building was.
Oh, over the... Okay,
Where the city hall is. Well, it was. There's a city garage there, yeah. Where Dennis is now.
Dennis Jasper's in there now.
Okay, in the Standard... where Bill Knittel and...
Right.
Yeah, this building stood right where Dennis has got his property now. Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was on the other side of the street.
No, this here was on the north side.
The bar is.
The bar? No, you mean on the west side?
On the...
No.
Yeah, where the bar is.
No, this was on the east side. Here, I'll tell you what you can see right here. You can see Jeannie Merton's building right through there. If you recognize it, it's the same one he's got today. I'm going to look at it once more.
I didn't bring my magnifying glass along. Let's see, yeah, this is...
The old car standing there.
Up there.
40. Oh, yeah, it is on that corner. I have it on the other corner here all the time in my mind. I do have it.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is in the right spot. I've had it over here all the time.
Northeast corner of the intersection.
I was just trying to think of...
Yeah.
I thought it was Jeannie's building.
That could be, actually, because it is on the corner there.
Yeah, but
I always thought it was, I don't know.
To see Jeannie's building through there, I thought it was that building. I don't know what other one it would have been. I thought it looked like Jeannie's building, too.
What was Jimmy's building before the Mertens got it?
Well, I don't know who had it first. I think old Pete Mertens had machinery in there, but that was after Charlie Berger had it. He's a Chevrolet man there. He had that for Chevrolet Garage. They had a ramp that went up on the wooden floor. They had a ramp in the front, they'd go up.
Oh.
And, but I don't know what it was. It was something before that, because he didn't build it for that. It was there then. So.
Now, Mertens also, didn't Mertens have an implement down by the railroad siding someplace?
They had one where they're tearing that building down up here now, you know, that jewelry shop, we call it the old jewelry. This side, it was this side of the old drugstore. Him and a guy named Albert Matson, he used to have a machinery business where Bill Rennie and his wife are north of that yet, even north.
North of the farmer's store.
North of the farmer's store and south of the drugstore.
Yeah.
There was a house in there where Hank Poppy lived in, and then there was this here. There was a garage in there. I remember the guy sold Oldsmobiles. Got one of the Vanderwegens sold. That was a relation to the Devines. He sold cars in there, and then there was still room for a dealership in there. There was a dealership in there. But there might have been down here, too. I don't know. But Pete Mertens was in that, he had machinery in where Jeannie is now. He had a big, Minnesota machinery. They don't make it anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't make that
now,
anymore.
was he the same one that had the meat market out in the country?
Yep. Yeah, it was Pete, yeah. Nick and Ed never did any other business, only farmed. Well, Pete, he used to, he was all right. We bought a lot of meat from him. I suppose it wasn't always good, but, we done it. And you know what kind of car that is? That one?
No.
I know what it is. It's a Hudson. It's a Hudson, and it's probably way back in... Well, if them guys are that age, I imagine it was in the 30s, early 30s.
Looks like a new one.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. I don't know who... Crum would run a Hudson, but I don't know who would run the Burger. I think he ran a Hudson. Maybe that Matson run a Hudson. And Crumbs would run Hudson because I think they had a Hudson. They used a little engine in there, and they called it the Hudson Super 6. It wouldn't go faster than a team of horses.
When did they stop the tourist
I don't know, but
thing?
I just was trying to think.
Because that would have been before they built the filling station then.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know. But I did have the garage that Pogo's got when Joe was in there, when Joe Carrabba was in there, because we had a good the business, gas business, you know. And Joe, he had to sweat in there to make a living for his 8, 9 kids or 7, whatever he had. But Joe was a good man. I always helped him if I could. And I know he had a good family. But I knew his dad, you know, that lived north of Withee, you know. You know which crowd of that. But Joe was gone for years. Tilly was one of the kids, you know, Wally's wife. Yeah, that old Caraba was
I can't remember.
Honest man. He was a very honest man.
I can't remember anything before the garage, the standard garage. But it had to be something, because that had to be built like in the late 40s, right?
I would say that it was built before that. Joe farmed quite a few years out there. Been dead for 15.
Yeah, more.
20.
Yeah.
Well, see, I bet you that Standard Oil business was built. Well, if I had to make a guess, I'd suppose in the middle 30s. In the maybe the early 40s, somewhere's in there, I think.
Dorothy Nielsen, that's Dick's daughter, started high school.
No, wait a minute. Who'd you say?
Dorothy Nielsen, that's Dick's daughter.
No.
Yeah.
No.
They lived on a farm at that time. When I started high school in 49.
Yeah, but wait a minute.
Dick Nielsen had the farm up there.
Anyway, he had 4 girls, didn't he?
Yeah.
And what? Did he have a boy? Yeah, I think he did.
John. West of Roy Senson's.
Yeah, I know where Dick lived. That was there.
They were on the farm in 49. And Dick came into the filling station after that.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, like I said, it could have been the early 50s. That's when they put the tanks up over on the railroad track. Was in the,
See, I don't remember that building. Which is weird.
You mean which one? This one?
Yeah.
Well, that could have been moved out a few years before that.
It's been empty.
Oh, I'm sure it was gone before that, because it might have been gone 5 years before they put the Standard Oil thing. But I tried to buy that property without this building. I think the building was gone when I tried to buy it.
Yeah,
And Chubby wouldn't sell it to me, or I mean, he had a lot to do with it, so. But, no, it could have been in the early 50s, because, you know, Dick was...
He wasn't in there that long.
Gosh, yeah, but you know, he was farming when up north here. I bought a farm in 46 north, Swen Jensen's, and I sold it in 55. And during that time, Dick Nielsen was over to my place, and he was kicking the dirt around. He says, you know, he said, I'd trade farms with you, he said. He wanted that dirt off in Swen Jensen's. He thought it was better than his, but there was nobody much better than what Dick had. But so it had to be in those years that he was still on the farm. So I guess maybe it would be the early 50s. That's what I would say.
She didn't finish with us. They left this country then like in 50 or 51.
Who left?
Nielsen's. And they went to Pembine, where the fire was. Peshtigo.
Yeah. Well, they came back and lived right here, north of town.
After they retired.
They couldn't have been gone very long when they came back and lived up here.
He was he a chauffeur for? Yeah, they were all over.
I didn't know. Yeah. His wife was Arnold Rasmussen's sister.
Yeah. Right.
Arnold and I worked together a lot. Yeah, he was quite a guy.
Getting back to town here, what else do you want?
Oh, here's the Bergstrom farm.
Could you see it?
Yeah, here's 1906 map of Bergstrom.
Yeah, it'd be north of Withee, a mile and east.
Mm-hmm. That's about what? Yeah.
About that.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it?
Right here.
Right there.
Yeah, it would be down that road.
Is this T?
This would be T.
Oh, that's right. That's T, and then we go up
and
here.
Then here's.
Oh yeah, because the church is right here. Yeah, and that's right there. Yeah, you go here, and then they went around the corner. Yeah, to go with that's the Bergstrom. Well, whose is this? Stockholm.
Stockholm.
Well, see, Stockholm. I wouldn't doubt what Bergstrom did buy that, but I knew Nell Stockholm. He was, he had relation here too. I believe he was. Yeah.
Maybe it was her.
See, in my recollection, Wysocki's lived on that place.
Brother, or
when I was born.
I believe they did.
Yeah.
But who lived across to the south? Remember them?
No.
A guy named Elmer Bakken.
To the south.
The buildings are all gone now. Eddie Seisig owns them.
Foundation right there.
Yes, right.
Was Stockholm the clerk of court for the county?
Oh boy, I don't know that. I think they were pretty smart people, but I don't know if he was or not. I maybe didn't like politicians in days.
Sure.
Still don't.
Still don't. You didn't learn a thing.
No.
Let's see here now. A.C. Nielsen, is that the Church Nielsen, or is that the...
E.C. Nielsen.
Here's Reverend Jensen. 1906.
No. Don't remember them guys. E.C. Nielsen.
A.C. Nielsen.
See, there was a Nielsen.
O. Nielsen.
Oh, there was a Nielsen that owned the feed mill before John Christensen got it. I think it was a Nielsen. He was a fat boy. I remember him.
He's got a lot of land here, actually.
Who has?
The jeweler.
A.C. Nielsen.
Oh.
What was the jeweler's name?
Nielsen.
First name?
I knew him pretty well.
He made a living in a jewelry shop?
Mm-hmm. You couldn't make them them days. And his brother was the doctor. He had the drugstore, the old drugstore. His brother, that was Doc Nielsen. And then this guy was, then he was a judge for, this area. What do you call it anyway? Charlie Funk, he built that building that Harry Thorson had his had his name on it even.
The meat market?
The meat market. He built that. He built other buildings around. He was a mason, I'd say, more. Because that house he's got out there, that's stone too. See that one out there across? That used to be there is out here. Just east of Al Jolowitz's house. The one on the same side. That was the old Charlie Funk farm, see? On the north side there.
It's not there anymore?
Yeah, still there. It's just the first one on this side of Al Jolowitz, I think.
That's not brick, though.
Well, no, it's colored up, I think, more, but I think it's more of a stone house.
Oh.
I don't think you get blocked some days, but it's a pretty solid made house, yeah. Yes. But see, old Charlie Funk was the father to George, and he was a janitor for many years in Withee. And that was all he had 4 daughters and 1 boy. And that was Eddie Ingles' wife was one of them. And she was the oldest one. Yep. And then the other one, Baum, married one that died. And
who was Otto Funk?
Otto? My golly, I don't know that.
There's an Otto Funk on the map, but it's...
Where at? West of Withee?
West of Withee, but it would be like... there's Peter Frost by the highway across from the cemetery, and then just back of that.
South of that?
South of that.
South of that would be the old Rodowitz farm.
Yeah.
Gosh, I didn't hear that. I've never heard that name, but no.
This is 1906, you said?
Yeah.
But then, that farm that you said just south of that, on that corner there, that was Alfred Frost live on there. That's the one you meant, ain't it? Who?
South of that.
Yeah, that's the next one south. Yeah, but who's on that Alfred Frost? That'd be the first farm, right from the cemetery corner south.
Peter Frost.
Well, it must have been Alfred's father, maybe, yeah.
One of the first Danes to come up here. I think Alfred was the first one baptized in Nazareth.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, my kid Ronnie bought that farm. So this must have been before Alfred Frost. When did Capes live on there? That was before Alfred Frost. Alfred used to have the farm where Frank Henricks is on.
Well, there's a couple of Peter Frost here.
But Peter Frost. I think there was another one in town even, Peter Frost.
Well, there's Peter Frost here that is behind the cemetery on the other side of the railroad tracks. He had some land.
Oh. No, I couldn't pick him out but it seemed to me I knew Peter Frost, but which one or where he lived I don't know. But I remember Alfred, he got that farm after Capes got rid of it.
But Alfred lived in town, but he would have been out in his dad would have been out in the country someplace.
His what?
I'm not sure. Alfred lived in town.
No, he had the farm before Kenny and Janet.
Oh, he lived on that. That's right. That was the family farm.
Yeah. But who he got it from before that?
But here's Peter Frost.
Yeah.
It must have been.
Yeah, Peter was.
I don't know if that was his dad or not.
Maybe Peter had some more land, huh?
There's 2.
I'm sure I knew of Peter Frost, but I can't really place him and where he lived or anything, no. But you know, I delivered ice to all these people, and I delivered coal and wood to all of them. And I should know all of them. I'd done that way back in the late 20s and then through the 30s I did that. See, until most of them got electricity and refrigerators and that kind of stuff, you know. But so I did know. I remember the little Dane up here. They called him the King of Denmark. You ever remember him? You know where Jelling's house is north of town, and he said they fixed that. One right next to him that sits near County T there. That was the little King of Denmark was there. And what he did, he gave his house to some association, Danish association.
Danish Brotherhood.
It could have been, but he gave his house away. Then he could stay out at Solvang, and that's a Danish town northwest of Los Angeles. That's where Chris Klebo or Chris Jensen went. He's my age, and that's where he lives because I went out there visiting him one time. But this town of I just mentioned, what did I say?
Solvang?
Solvang, yeah. I got pictures. Paul Peterson had pictures of that too. I give him some. But that place, it sits like over here, and there's Chris Jensen. He lives in another little town, a little ways away. And I went to Chris Jensen's house to visit him. And then I was in Solvang quite a bit. But Martin and Laura were with me. And Martin is Danish, you know, so see, it worked out pretty good a lot of times, you know. And Martin, he wanted to have coffee in every shop he seen. So I didn't have any problem having coffee, that's for sure.
That would be the little house that Janice and Ellen aren't living in now. First one north of the Jelling house.
Yeah, it could be all right.
That's the first one, isn't it?
Oh, the only Jelling house I know of is where Vi lives, so I was lost here then.
Peter Dittner.
Yeah, the Doc Peters' house that he fixed.
That was a
Jelling house?
That was a Jelling house, yeah. That was just north of that.
Yeah, probably.
That would be the place that this King of Denmark, and the real nice guy was, and he went up and, but he went to Solvang and he gave his house.
All right, water cell. Oh. Is someone in there?
No. At least not that I'm aware of.
Better not be.
There is now.
Okay, because when I was in high school, there was a widow that lived there by, I think, Hanson. She was like a seamstress.
Oh, yeah.
I remember.
See, there was so many Hansons. Now, when you say seamstress, we called her husband. Well, wasn't he living then? I think he was.
Maybe.
There was so many Emil Hansons, and I think his name was that. But to keep these Emils straight, we worded them by their wife. We called him Buttonhole Emil. See, because his wife was a seamstress, called him Buttonhole. That's terrible, isn't it?
Oh,
well, I mean, how can I remember some of them damn things? But he was Buttonhole Emil. Well, then, of course, the guy had the locker plant. That was Fiddler Emil, because he played the fiddle, you know. Then Louise's brother was Emil, and we called him Bulldog Emil.
Oh.
But he was kind of puggy. It was like, Louise's brother was...
This was not to their face?
I don't know. But like out in Frenchtown, that was Harry Hansen. A lot of them around, too. We called him Chicken Harry. Mm-hmm. But Emil Hansen, that was over here, we called him Sissy Emil. Yeah, they had the the grocery store. Yeah, Mercantile. Called him Sissy Emil.
Was there a Railroad Hansen, too?
That was their dad. Emil's dad was a Railroad Hansen. They lived north of Withee, crossing where Harry is.
Right.
Yeah, that was a big farm at one time. Yeah, that was Railroad Hansen. Yeah. He had 5 boys and, I don't know, a girl or 2 maybe. Well, I knew him quite well at the time, but that kind of goes away a little bit too, you know. Yeah.
Norm's dad, was he constable here for?
Yeah, he was, yeah. Andreessen. But I didn't know his family at all.
Were they farm folks to start with, or were they always?
I think they lived in town all the time, because he worked at the big hardware store that burned down. That Chevy Albert's dad and Frank Vanderwegen owned together. And Carl Andreessen worked there. And I lived right next to the hardware store. Then there was that big building that the Ford garage in one time. And then come this Andreessen house. We all rented them days. But then Andreessen, you know, like Carl was a healthy guy, and they had 7 kids. But when it come time to, in the afternoon, the mother, Andreessen, would call the kids, says, you go up to the butcher shop and you get 5 pounds of porterhouse steak and charge it. Well, their dad was working. My dad was sick all the time. We didn't have nothing. You know, we had nothing. There was no welfare, nothing.
Yeah.
My mother would call and she'd say, you go to the butcher shop. She says, here's a nickel. Get a soup bone. Get a soup bone, she'd say. That's what us kids lived on, and they got porterhouse steak. See how the difference was. We were neighbors. We got along good, you know.
Yeah.
But I got a nickel to get a soup bone. But my mother cooked it up with potatoes and cabbage, I guess. And we never went hungry that I remember. But money, I got that book home. Did I ever tell you that? I get one to the library. It says we had everything but money. It's here. I brought one in because I got 2 of them. I don't know how I got 2, but I got one in.
You mentioned a restaurant. Where was that?
I think he had it in his own house.
Oh.
And it was, oh, hell, that there was sitting, that house was sitting just right about where that street comes out, where Jeannie lives. Jeannie lives on that corner, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where that house is. Hell, I think that's the house that we used to live in. But that's where that restaurant would be, on that corner as you come from the west. That's 3rd Street, ain't it? Yeah. That restaurant would be just to the north of that. Mm. But it wasn't very big. But
was there a boarding house or something across from G.D. Mertens' business where Herb Berman has his garden now?
There was a big house there, but I think they just rented it out. I don't know of it being a boarding house.
I can always remember it was built like...
Yeah,
you know,
like the drugstore and the,
and
the jeweler store, yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, I don't think there was ever but there were a lot of hotels in town.
Did they serve food at the hotels?
Oh, I'm sure they did. Of course, I didn't eat out them
No.
days, but I know they had to. There was that Duffner Hotel. Was quite a hotel.
North side of the tracks.
Yeah, that was quite a hotel.
Now, that's the last one to be taken down.
Right.
In the village,
yeah,
huh?
that was the last one.
50s or?
I suppose that's when you told. Well, I knew the people who lived up there. Malsteds lived up there. Oh, I could tell you another story too. I should tell it to you. One day I was in the restaurant here about 4 years ago in Withee, and Paul Peterson was sitting there, and I'll tell you just how it worked. Bob Friedenfeld come in. He's been living in Medford territory, but he come in and he says to me, he says, "Can you remember something like this?" He said, and then he started telling me, and it's not gossip, it's the truth, so I don't mind telling it. But if it was gossip or I didn't know for sure, I wouldn't tell it. But he said, "You remember in a certain year, it was 70 or 72 years ago before that this happened." And I said, he said, "You ever remember a woman that came to Withee," he said, "and she had a baby? And way back, and she stayed at that Duffner Hotel," something like that. He gave me I said, "Yeah, I remember that. He said, "Well, what about it?" And I said, "She had twins. She had a boy and a girl." She said, "That's right." He says, "She did have twins." So see, I remembered all this. Well, she came into town, had her babies, and took off. Took one of them with her. She left the boy. And you know who? Soren Rasmussen adopted the boy, and he was here a few years ago. He's 70 years old now, see? Or 72 or whatever he is. And Bob Friedenfeld says, he says, "My dad was the father of them 2 kids." But he wasn't married at the time. You can call it gossip, what you want to call it, but I just say, that's that.
Well, where did she come from?
I never seen her or heard from her, or she just came into town, I suppose, on the train, and maybe had to have the babies. Maybe and Friedenfeld might have been living around here. Maybe he might have arranged it. I don't know what happened. But Bob Friedenfeld, He just was kind of relieved afterward. But why Bob wanted to Bob knew this ahead of time, I guess, but he wanted to know, for the sake of this Rasmussen kid, he wanted to tell him something, see?
Yeah.
But, and I met that Rasmussen kid a couple years after, or a year after, or maybe 2 years after this happened. See, after I was talking to Bob Friedenfeld. And this Rasmussen kid was around, and he's a big, nice boy and everything. But the people that adopted him had 2 girls. That's all they had. And but they were around here all their life. Elizabeth Rasmussen and Ellen Rasmussen. And Elizabeth and Ellen, do you ever hear that? They were about my age. They were about my age. And then they're the one that adopted the boy. So he grew up to be a nice, strong boy. So, but anyway, Bob Friedenfeld found out what I knew anyway. But how in the, after he left, Paul Peterson says, God darn it, Bernard, he says, you remember what happened 70 years ago, but he said, you don't remember what happened yesterday. Paul Peterson told me. I said, I guess you're right. Terrible, isn't it?
Yeah.
In a way, I wish I could forget a lot of that stuff. I don't want to remember it, but jeez, it's there. What do? You can't forget it.
It's part of your life.
Well, I know, but why should I be interested in that damn stuff? Why should I have been interested in that?
Why don't you write a book?
Yeah, I'm
then
John
get it
Isaac.
off your mind then.
I don't know. John Isaacs and I were going to write one time, and I always remember that. Yeah, John, I said, I'll come up, but I said, I can't write a book. I said, I don't want to write a book. He says, well, you sit down, I'll ask the questions, and you talk to me. I said, that's fine, I'll do that. But he died before I got around to that. But anyway, like I said, I just like to forget a lot of that stuff. And, a lot of the stuff I remember is not nice, and I wish I would forget it. But it don't leave me, that's all,
You were a businessman all your life, too, and I think that's part of what you remember, too. You dealt with so many people. It's amazing that you remember that much.
Yeah, it is. I know there's a lot of it I do forget. Gee, I had a nephew up in Superior, not a nephew, but he's a nephew to my wife. I was up there 2 weeks ago, and he told me what I did one time. He said, I don't remember that. Yeah, you did. He's 10 years younger than I am. But he said, yeah, he said, you did that. And I said, I don't believe it. I don't know. But whatever it was, I can't remember what he told me now, see. But I didn't remember of ever doing it either, but it wasn't very good, whatever it was.
Well, see, you already forgot something.
Yeah, I forgot the stuff I should forget, maybe. Well, anyway, we had a good. I talked to him for an hour, and he was a pretty nice kid. He used to come down here from Superior. He'd get in my semi and ride with me. Wherever I went, he'd tell me where I went. There was something about the truck. What did he say? There was one thing he told me. He said, driving along, he said, you'd been on the road for a couple of days, no sleep. And he says that I pulled over on a place to park the truck, and he said, I told him to wake me up in 15 minutes. And he says, I did. He says, and you drove for 10 more hours? After I was that pooped out, I drove he said, I drove 10 more hours, never got sleepy. Well, see, all I needed was that fast nap, just 10, 15 minutes, and that was good again.
Power nap.
I don't know what you call it, but anyway, I had to get going, I didn't have any money. No.
Now, you mentioned the Duffner Hotel. Was it actually a Duffner family that owned that hotel?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Was it a very big one? How many,
Well, there was. I remember the old Felix Duffner was one of them. Felix Duffner was, I believe, the old man. And Albert Duffner, I believe he's the guy that was the son of Felix, and he run it, him and his wife. And then they had a boy that moved to Eau Claire by the name of Vern Duffner, but they had another boy, and I forgot where he went to. But I knew where Vern Duffner lived in Eau Claire. I don't think I ever went to see him, but I knew where he lived, yeah. To see them kids would have been 20 years older than me, I suppose, But yeah, that's the Duffner family run that hotel, and nobody bought it until these people owned it, and they didn't really run a motel. They rented out the apartments. Basil Wenzel was in there first. I know he was, when he first got married, he rented the apartment there. But I told you, this Milstead was their name. And they were, their daughter was a school teacher and lived south of Curtis. She married an Anderson, and this Anderson was a uncle to Bernard Anderson out here.
Oh, the one that's here now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I sold that farm to Bernard Anderson when he's out. There's a real honest guy, I tell you, whether you believe it or not, I tell you, he wouldn't cheat you out of anything. But anyway, so his uncle died, and then his aunt stayed there, and when he wanted her to always make out, well, she had a will made out that Bernard Anderson got a lot of it. And then she had, Bernard's kids got some. I don't think anybody else got any. It's just Bernard and his kids got it. And you know, she had stocks or bonds that was bought for her by her uncle from 1924, and they weren't cashed yet. You can imagine what they'd be worth. If they're worth anything, they'd be worth a lot. And I kind of guessed about what he'd get out of her estate, but oh boy,
Hi.
I think they've got $1 million more. Well, anyway, Bernard Ann, he inherited all that. And you know, I honestly, you know, I don't hide nothing because it's the truth. I don't mind saying it. But Bernard Anderson bought the farm for me. I remember that time. And he was supposed to pay it off in just 3 or 5 years. But somehow or other, whether you believe it or not, he can tell you, the Withee Bank did something. And I know what he done. Oh, I know what they done, but they might have done more than that. Because he sold a farm over there, and he was supposed to pay me off, and he didn't get the money. Yeah, so I sold him the place, and he paid down. Oh, he paid down $15,000. And I charged him 10%. That's when the interest was high, a lot higher than 10. He offered to pay me 10. And then as he paid the payments every month, the interest was included, and he would have paid off in 5 years. He's going to bring a balloon payment in, you know. But he didn't get that done because he never got any money out of his other farm. So it went along for a few years. Bernard won't do nothing to try to fight any battles with money in that. I had to help him in order for him to get cleared on one of them. But boy, I'm never sorry I done that. Well, so he paid me, he only paid me off about 2-3 years ago. So he must have been paying me 15 years or more. And he was paying that payment every month. And you know, he only owed me $34,000 to start with. I always remember that. And I think he paid me $55,000 in interest. It was a lot of interest. I can't remember quite anymore, but he paid me a lot of interest. And one time I said, Bernard, if the interest is too high, it's when the interest got a little cheaper, I said, I'll knock off some. No, he said, I promised you 10% and I'm going to pay it. He never missed his payments. But anyway, and then when he inherited the money from this aunt of his, he still owed me $27,000. You know, that's the only interest that I could say in my life that I never used to depend on living on interest. But think what I drew out of that farm. You know, $34,000, and he still owed $27,000 after that many years. He paid me a lot of interest. I can't remember. Maybe it wasn't $50,000, but it had to be somewhere in the 40s then. I could easily figure it out, but that ain't important.
But he ran the patrol for long, didn't he?
Not for long, but he run it for the town of Beaver.
Oh, Beaver. Oh.
Yeah, good mechanic, good man, good all-around guy. But anyway, we laugh about it. When he was getting his settlement, he came to me one day, but we weren't talking about money. I don't know what I asked him how he was doing. He came in the house, and he says, you know, he said he had an old wreck of a car and an old wreck of a pickup, you know. He didn't have nothing, you know, and he just couldn't get ahead in the world. And you know, he said, Bredlow's got a real nice car down there I'd like to buy. He said, it's a year old, a few miles. But he says, I can't buy it. He says, I can't, and my money isn't coming through from his aunt for, you know, maybe 6 months or a year yet. You know, it takes a long time. So I said, how much is the car going to cost? And he says, I need $10,000 if I'm going to buy it. And I says, well, you want $10,000? I'll give it to you. Oh, boy, was he happy. So I give him the $10,000, and then when he sold and got all settled up, give me my $10,000 back, plus the $27,000. But I tell you, you talk about history, that's what it is. But Bernard never forgets it, he knows. I wouldn't cheat him for anything. When you got an honest man, you better not cheat him. If you got a crook that's waiting to get you, get him. That's my attitude.
Do you remember a G.W. Lee physician, doctor? G.W. Lee.
Well, he was a veterinary, or what?
Just if it says physician.
No, I don't know.
This would have been back in
I knew some Lees, but none of them were doctors.
15 or 16, I guess.
No.
How about a McIntyre dentist?
Yeah, that was later years than that.
Later?
McIntyre was later years, wasn't it?
This is, I can't really tell from this. 1915, 1916?
No, McIntyre had to be later than that, if it's the same one I remember.
Where was he?
Oh, that I don't know.
Okay.
I never got toothache in him days. I didn't know where anybody lived. I didn't want to get a toothache.
Now here they got Nielsen, E.E. Nielsen is a jeweler. E.E.
Well, I suppose that was him. Ed Nielsen, and the other doctor was, I don't know what Dr. Nielsen's name was. But E.E. Nielsen, that sounds like the jeweler, all right.
That's okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. And there was a George Nielsen, Flour and Grain.
Sure, that's the one that George, I told you, Nielsen sold it to John Christensen. I couldn't remember his first name, but that's George, ain't it?
George, right.
I said, that was the guy I said he's short, fat guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was George.
Did John Christensen, before the feed mill, did he have a general store?
He had it at the same time.
Same time.
Stood where the Ford garage is.
Okay.
Burned down one night.
Paul Paulson, Sawmill Electric Light Plant.
Well, I don't remember that. I think I know where it was where Dorothy Nielsen lives, on that corner someplace. But I don't remember that.
South of that corner, where the bow and arrow thing, was there a dance hall there? Never?
No.
Was there anything there? Ever?
No, I don't think there was ever anything there. Not that I remember. When A.R. Martin built his house out there, the blacksmith.
Yeah.
You know where that is. That's where, what's her name is now? There's Fagan in her.
Oh, that's out. Cone?
Huh?
Cone?
No.
No?
No, right in town.
Where Fagan lives?
Fagan boy.
Oh, where?
A Fagan boy lives there.
Oh, yeah.
Across from
Gotcha.
the
Next to
German
Dorothy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be the next one.
Right.
Yeah. A.R. Martin was a blacksmith.
Right.
He built that.
Okay.
He built that, but he still lived right next to the post office there in the house. And they owned it until they all died, I guess, and he finally sold it. Isabel might have. But he left that house and moved out there and when he had the new one. So they lived in that new house for years. Then he had a few head of cattle out there, because I used to go out there and haul them for him, yeah. That was there, but I don't think there was anything next to that. And then Paul Tomish built that next one there.
Yeah.
There's one of the old pictures, and I'm not sure if it's here, if it's one that's that Ginny has, but it shows the Paulson Mills, and they seem to extend way back to where Snooky and
that's right. Yeah,
that whole.
Yeah.
It's a long.
Well, see, there's all sawdust under that piece of land through there. See, and that's where the Withee drilled their well.
Yeah.
And then they didn't ask me, but I know that's all rusty water under there. And because I drilled the Krieger boys dug a well for me where Bushman's got his machinery down there now, and that was all rusty. And you had to have some kind of a water softener to get that out. Your toilet, your sinks would be just red in no time.
Right now.
Yeah, right now. You couldn't do it now.
Yeah.
Krause's farm was on that, so was this other one where the other machinery guy is too. That's all through there was all red. And there was a streak south of X that run all the way there, and I didn't want Village to dig well, but they did it. So
P.K. Pedersen. P.K. Pedersen Brick Factory. P.K.
I know where it was, but I don't know.
Where?
It might standing up there yet. There's an old brick or an old cement wall. Oh, it'd be north of the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And you know where Keel's old house or Alita lived.
Right.
Probably be east of there yet. I think it's on the north side railroad tracks. I'm pretty sure that's where it was,
Okay.
but I really can't remember it. But I remember one time they must have been wrecking the place, and they set a charge of dynamite there. And this was in about 1920. No, it wasn't even. It was about 1917 or 18. They set a charge of dynamite there, and a chunk of iron this big and kind of a diamond shape hit our house, and that's where that's where Jim Mertens has got his new house now. And it was an old house there, and it hit there, and it embedded itself right into the siding. So it must have been a lot of force going there. And I remember I picked a factory up there, and I what it was. You said brick factory?
Yeah.
I'd never heard of a big brick factory in Withee. I knew there was one in Stanley on the north end, but
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Do you remember anything about the broom factory and the Cantuck factory?
Well, if you ask me, I think they were probably over there too, someplace where this and here, you see.
Or was it on the south side of the
I don't think it could have been on the south side. See, the south side was the old railroad track. See, this is a new railroad track.
Okay.
The old one was an old right-of-way, they called it. And then us kids used to go down there a lot. And so I don't think anything could have been south of the railroad track, because the railroad would have taken up another 100 feet from this track that we got and going south, see. So I don't think there was anything in there. They took up the old rails on this old one, you know.
Where would that run from?
That run between the fire hall and the railroad track. Now, that was running there.
Closer to the
as
fire
far as
hall.
I can remember, it run there. But I didn't remember those tracks, but I do remember the right-of-way, because I know a family by the name White used to live down in there, and we used to go to own on that track, and, you know, so...
Did the track curve north after it crossed Division Street, or was it kind of just parallel to what it goes now?
Well, I would say it's...
Pretty much the same.
I don't know.
Because the feed mill had to be there already, right?
Oh, yeah, the feed mill that was on the siding there. That
Yeah.
siding is there yet, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Because the barber tried to tell me that somebody told him that the railroad swung a little bit north, like towards the park, from his shop here. And I said, I don't remember that at all.
Well, I don't really think it did,
No.
but I can't say I don't know, but I don't think it did.
Yeah. George E. Peterson Creamery.
George Peterson. I remember
Creamery.
George Peterson. I bet you I know which one.
Is that
Well, see,
the-
they had a creamery down where Eddie LePage's house is, too, you know.
Oh.
Yeah, they had the one down there.
See, this isn't a really good thing of it, but this is from the west side of town.
Yeah.
The west side.
This one
Yeah.
from over there. And this is the park here, as far as what I can figure
Oh,
out.
yeah. Yeah.
And this must be the school is. The schoolhouse
But that's
is here
the water
someplace.
tower.
Yeah, we're on this side of town.
Yeah, but we're looking east.
Right. Looking east here. And here's the railroad track.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
So the depot.
yeah. I can't see. And that depot is...
The depot was a boxcar, they said, to start with. This is 1912, it says on something.
Well, that could be. I don't...
Is this the creamery then, where John Isaacs had his?
Yeah. That was the creamery, but the other one, see over there, that one? That was the first creamery.
Okay, that's right.
That was the
You're
first one, then he built this one.
right. What was this thing? This long... Looks like a livery
Well,
stable
I
or something?
suppose this is the creamery. Now, wait a minute, I don't know. The railroad tracks here?
Yeah.
Is there a road there? Yeah. Yeah, that looks like the creamery that... But boy, that was different. That looks like the creamery that Isaacs was in. But that...
Behind there.
Well, that looks like that's on the corner where Eddie and Dee
This is
are.
the old Durban place then.
Yep,
Square
yep,
down.
that's
Okay.
the Durban place, yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember he's here, see, now that, yeah, I remember that one. That house there, I think people that lived there was my cousins, and he wanted to, he says, I'm going to buy me 150 chickens, little ones, and I'll raise them upstairs in the house, he said, and when they get big enough, we'll take them out to your farm, and then we'll sell them, and I'll get my half or whatever, And he was good about it. He fed them, took good care of them. But we didn't get them. He didn't bring them out to the farm until he got so damn big. I think the manure was 6 inches thick upstairs in the house. And I think that's the house that, I'm pretty sure. Doesn't look right. They must have taken this off in it because it was just east of that.
First house east of the
Yeah, first east one. This one still stands. That's it. George Jensen used to live in that one.
That looks like another commercial one.
Yeah, but that's gone. The little house is standing. Here was the hotel there.
That hotel
I don't even
commercial or?
I don't know.
Let's see.
Let me see now. Here's and that's the railroad tracks there, huh?
Yeah.
We'll see. That other Duffner's should be right in here someplace. God, is that the old Keel house way up there? Looks like it.
It looks like it, yeah.
Yeah.
And this is where Withee Wall used to live?
Well, that was George Peterson's place, and that's the guy that run the creamery at one time. You mentioned George Peterson. Yeah. That's where he lived. And he had a barn out there. Yeah, he got a little barn. He used to milk about 5 cows there and sell everybody milk for $0.05 a quart. Good, rich Guernsey milk. Yeah.
Looks like a shipping livestock yard there. Looks like a fence. Isn't it?
There was a stockyard in there.
Stockyard, I meant.
Right next to the depot?
Yeah, or close to it.
Yeah, it was just east of the depot, but that ain't the right depot there, but
no.
Just east of the depot, yeah, there was a stockyard there. But the side track came in. Oh, yeah, see it there?
Yeah.
Yeah, you went.
That's where the cars are.
The depot came in. The depot was between the tracks, and then they pushed them cars down there, and we loaded cattle out of that stockyard. Yeah. Yep.
What's that barn like?
Well, I tell you, that's gone.
Yeah,
because that's where the feed mill was and burned down. So, but I don't even remember the barn. I don't remember that at all. No.
And there's a fire hall.
Yep, that's still there.
Alrighty.
Yeah, quite a building.
Quite a photo. There's Owens water tower.
Yeah, it is Owens. Yeah, because Withee's up here. Yeah. Yeah, that's where George Peterson lived. I always remember that.
Now was this a school?
Not that I ever knew.
There was a school up on the corner here.
The
very first school was on the corner.
Well, if it was, I don't remember that at all.
That was before before the brick school.
Yeah, I see. No, I didn't even know that. No. H.P. Well, see, that H.P. Hansen must have been Louise's dad. He took all the pictures.
Yeah.
He did a good job.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of things there that I remember, but is the barber shop there? Ain't that the barber shop? Sure it is.
Probably. I should have brought the magazine.
See, the railroad track runs right by there. That's the barber shop right there.
Well, let's see, the fire hall.
It's a little building.
Yeah.
It's a little building. Damn, you wouldn't think a guy could make a living in there. But he does.
I suppose
he does pretty
shaving
good.
and haircut, 6 bits.
Hello, 6 bits?
2 bits.
No, it wasn't even that. I got a haircut for 15 cents. Sure, I got a haircut for 15
But
cents.
now, where would the tracks have differed then? I mean, this is pretty much where they're at now, isn't it?
Well, it looks to me...
But where would they have changed?
No, this didn't change from here. It didn't change, but from here, it looks like it's going pretty much straight west, ain't it?
But, okay, now we're talking about behind here.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it's back... See, now Cookie lived... The school is over in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
And Norman, just right behind the building here. Would the train have gone...
In the same...
A different...
No different. No.
Pretty much parallel to what...
Just about right where it is as far as
that.
that.
I was always under the impression the Cantock factory was someplace back here.
Well, it could be, but I think it's on the north side of the road if it was there, on the north side of the tracks. Because I know we went up and down this old right-of-way where the tracks used to be, and there was nothing there. I don't think there was anything. If it would have had been on Jens Miller's land there, But I don't think there was. Yeah.
There's some low buildings or something behind the...
But
there's some kind of building or something... One of the pictures has... maybe it's the bar, this Midway bar type. Behind it you can see, or no, one of the school pictures. You can see wood that's stacked. It's an old school picture.
But now, where is the school on here? It ain't here, is it?
Let's see, 1912. Yeah, this. Okay, if that's the fire hall, then the school has to be.
Yeah, got to
here
be back in here
someplace.
someplace.
Let's see, there's the depot, so it's in here somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's something on the top of that. I'm not sure how far we're. Well, it's a front building. We probably can't.
I don't know when that school was built. I don't remember when that school was built. I remember when they added that chunk onto it. The gym was on there, and I remember that pretty well. But
let's see. I suppose I don't have the cards along.
I think it's right there.
Yeah, I believe you're right. I believe you're right.
Right there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's on here.
God, this guy. Is that cattle in the pasture here?
Could be. I like the pile of wood here.
1890, the brick one was built. 1880, the wooden one. 1890, the.
Yeah.
The school was built, huh? Is that wood there?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't put it there, but I would have. There used to be a bulk plant in here, too. Ain't there, no. See, old Charlie Berger had a Purell tanks off the ground there. But you remember them, Frankie. And then it was cement abutments under, you know, where the tanks set in.
Yeah.
And it was right in there.
West of the railroad, west of the depot.
Yeah,
area,
west of the
area.
depot and south of probably a couple hundred feet.
Here's the school.
Yeah, you can see that there, I think.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot, but I don't remember the depot was like that. I mean, the depot was pretty much like it is today, or what it was when he tore it down.
I guess there were three Mike Kowalski researches railroads, and he said there were actually, the first one was kind of a boxcar.
That
The
could
second
be.
one was a smaller building, and then the third was actually a
Yeah,
building.
yeah, I see.
What about Ed Smith sawmill?
Yeah.
Smith sawmill where?
Well, Ed Smith had the farm north of Withee where Eddie Zalvo was on.
Way up.
That's where this, well, I'm sure that's where the sawmill was. He had Neil Smith and George Smith, his boys, and that's where that Ed Smith, I'm pretty sure. I don't know where else he would have had a sawmill. I don't know any place else. He used to have roller rink there, too, years ago. They were skating his barn, his big barn.
Okay.
But that's all I could tell you on that. If he did have a mill around there, I didn't know about it.
Mildred Smith, postmaster. Mildred Smith.
No, I don't remember that.
C. Matson, contractor. He's the one that built the brick building, you said.
Right, yeah, just across
Yeah.
Konwinski's got now. Yeah, he built that.
Love.
He built other ones too, but I know he built that one.
There's a friend, Louis Laframboise Millinery. That's a
No.
French word.
No,
Charlie Keel, General Store. Louis Crum, General Store Clothing. Ben Crum, Livestock. Jensen Brothers, Druggists.
yep.
Albert Jensen, Livery Stable. Albert Jensen.
Albert Jensen. See, John Blunk had that when I first remembered. He had it where Charlie Larson's,
Oh, up there.
yeah,
Blacksmith
Charlie
shop?
Larson.
yeah.
Blacksmith.
He had it where Charlie Larson was.
That's
That, or where it was right in that area,
Yeah.
and I don't exactly know, it might have been on the hardware specialty side, but that was too old a building. I know it was right in there, and maybe it was in Charlie Larson's building even, you know. Somebody came to me the other day about Charlie Larson. God, I don't know who it was. They wanted to know all about him. I remember him and his wife. Yeah.
Was it a woman?
I think so.
There's a girl that works up at school, that
Oh, yeah.
teacher up at school.
That's right. I think that's maybe who it was, yeah.
Well, we found, there's a book here that I don't have it right now, Ginny has it, and there's a letter from Mrs. Charlie Larson in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's an old, old book.
Yeah, when he died, she moved away. They didn't have any kids, I don't think. She moved down to, it's where It's on the Highway 80 down south of Pittsfield, in the town down there. She stayed there for many years in a home till she died. Yeah, she was, that Charlie was quite a guy too. He was all right. Yeah, Frankie, have you got some more there?
Commercial house. That must have been a hotel, huh?
Well, I believe that must have been the one that was on the corner where the old bank got tore down.
Vanderwegen?
Oh, I knew the Vanderwegens, and didn't say no first name, huh?
Nellie.
Nellie Vanderwegen.
Nellie.
Oh, I don't remember
you should know her.
Nellie, I should remember her, but Nellie Vanderwegen. See, I knew a lot of Vanderwegens, but I wonder if Nellie was...
Commercial house was where the old bank, yeah, I think that's...
Well, wasn't the one down the... Was down
there
the
was
street,
two
right?
of them down the street there,
Yeah,
so it could have been any of them, but I was... Oh, I believe there's a
19.
picture that tells you the name of the hotel was where the bank is. There's one. You had a
Down
picture.
the,
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, down the street was one block from the bank.
Yeah.
The next bank corner was commercial.
That could have
That's
been.
right.
That was down. I never knew it was standing there. I never knew that. I mean, I knew they were there, and then there was one across the corner
And
from it.
there was one, yeah, just across the corner of the commercial. It's the Hamilton House.
Oh, I see.
Sturgeon later.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I remember the buildings, but I
But
don't.
no, Sturgeon.
They were not hotels
Yeah,
when I was.
library.
I remember there were no hotels.
Hotel Withee, Hamilton House. Let's see. Well, this is a little confusing here
Just
between
think.
two.
Four
I think it's
hotels.
Hotel Withee,
Railroad was
1912.
busy.
Hamilton House before 1900. Sturgeon Hotel, 14.
Harry Cordis? Drayman.
Cordis?
Cordis.
God,
That's from Thorpe, isn't it?
No,
Harry
but you know, I
Cordis.
was a drayman in the 20s already. In the late 20s, I was
Is that
drayman.
Bernice's?
I
Is that the
don't
same name?
You know, and I know it was Bill Perkins. He was a drayman down there. Yeah.
That's about all I got here. Withee
Well-
Lumber and Fuel Hardware.
Well, you know, somebody... Oh, you got some more?
I have some pictures. Yeah.
Oh, but I was going to tell you...
Well, just a minute. August Walters, General Store. Augie Walters, General Store.
No, I don't remember that either, no. Walters. But you know, Hattlestead just had an auction in their store, you know, down south in
yeah.
Withee. And I remember the guy that built that. His name, well, we called him Coffee Jake. His name was Jacobson, Coffee Jake. And he, I don't know when he left there, but he had a couple of boys. Real nice. I think he was a Dane guy, you know. But I used to sell booze, you know, around. And I was a drayman also. And I was good to all these guys, and they all liked me. And so I come to him one time, I wanted to know if I could buy a case of his white soda. You couldn't buy pop them days, just white soda. So he'd sell me 24 bottles of that, I guess, for, I don't know, it seemed to me I even paid 90 cents at that time for them, you know, that's quite a bit. But I bought them, and then the next week I come back, I want another case, you know, and finally he says, what do you do with all that soda? But he was a very strict guy, you know, and I didn't dare tell him. But I'd buy a gallon of 180 proof alcohol, and then I'd mix it. I'd take it to the dance halls and sell it. Well, I made a week's wages on Saturday night, every Saturday night. But if I'd have told him I'd have mixed it with alcohol, he'd never sold it to me. No, he wouldn't. He was too fussy that. But old Coffee Jake was a good old guy. But
Was that a little general store?
yeah, just like it is
Just
today.
like it was.
Oh, it was more, no, it wasn't a general store. It was more, you could go in there and buy soda, you know, I mean, malted milks and stuff like that.
Oh.
But he did sell other things, but the building was a lot bigger now than it was, see.
Like, I can remember it being like an ice cream parlor.
Well, it was pretty much then, too. Maybe the other people, I don't know who changed it over that much, but it was, but I know they used to have, when they used to ice cream and that stuff. But he was an older man, and when I was buying this pop, but how would a kid buy 24 bottles of pop and use it up every week and come back?
Oh, you drank
I
it.
couldn't get it for 90 cents in the other place, so I had to go there. I was out for 10 cents. I'd walk quite a ways.
Dance halls. Mariel Gardens, Jackson's, one and the same.
Yeah, that's right.
Shady Nook up north.
You bet. That got washed out by the flood.
Right, a mile away north of Thorpe.
Yep.
Was there any others around? Did Clark have one at one time, a little one?
They used to have dances in there.
In the
Town hall.
Yeah.
In the town hall. That isn't down yet, but it's down, damn near down.
Probably as big as this room right here, I think.
Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
But, you know, Mishkowski, South Owen used to have where this Joe Seiser's farm was. They used to have dances there a lot.
Where's that?
Well, who's got that now? Yeah, they're big farmers now. That's where Martin Carlson lived.
Oh, the Elarentas?
Elarentas got it now, yeah. That barn used to have dances in there.
The one going east, or?
Yeah, way east on the end of the road there. Yeah,
okay.
they did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a dance hall. Well, they had reels. That was south of Curtis Country someplace. And I know they had one north of Stanley or Boyd there. I used to know what the name of it was, and I know right where it was, but I can't. It was right down.
It's getting out of our territory.
Yeah, it is too far away. But I remember those. But I'll say that.
But
yeah.
Jackson's must have been one of the.
That was the main one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then the tourist park out here, when Emil Nemi ran it, he used to have dances once in a while.
Yeah.
And the night that my brother Roy got married, we had the dance there and the party there. And that later that night it burned down.
Hot party.
It burned down. Yeah, I remember that. It burned down that night.
He had the sauna then too on Saturday night, didn't he?
Had what?
The sauna, the steam bath.
Oh yeah, he had that going all the time. I took a couple of baths there. Yeah, it was a good deal. Yeah.
This is a busy place.
You have pictures to show?
Just me, don't jump.
Okay.
Did you get my message?
I was over here earlier this morning, and then when I went home, I got your message. So, do you know if there's
Oh,
a...
that's 60 years
Okay,
ago.
did you find some other?
No, I didn't
Well,
find
this one
any.
here.
Yeah, well, that one I know, but
Where did these come from?
well, Tootie was supposed to bring his son. Did she bring any?
No, she didn't bring any.
And
Some of
nobody
these were
puts
from
nobody-
Louise Hanson, and yeah, I think just a bunch of them. That's a store someplace. Do you recognize that store at
It
all?
looks like Harold Crumb back there.
Yeah, that. Do you know who the other fellow might be there?
No. Harold looks pretty young there.
Now, Louis Crum, was his store in Owen or in Withee?
Owen. That's the one that Gonzales moved out of. It's empty now.
That was at Race Friday?
Yeah, that's who it was, yeah. See, this here looks like John DeZova's shop, but I don't think it is it? Doesn't say nothing.
Oh, it says S. Bernard.
Yeah. But even then, I really don't. John DeZova had horse collars and everything hanging up there because
Yeah, the guy in there, I don't know.
you couldn't be one of his kids when they're young. No, I know the kids.
No.
Kids just took the money, they didn't work.
You bet they took the money.
Would this, there's several of those school pictures. Does that even look like it would have been around here? Would kids have dressed that way here?
Oh, I guess that would have been all right. Yeah, the dressing would have been all right, but
See, now the only place this could be would be on that school, the first school that was up on the other corner there.
oh.
Because
Yeah.
that's, the way the front of it
none of
looks.
them, they'd all be dead and gone by now, but I don't recognize any of
You
them.
should look, well, it's 1912 we were looking at that picture.
Yeah, see, these kids are mostly 10 years old, or some of them a little older, some a little younger. See, so these kids are born, they're 90 years old, they're around 90 now, They might be living yet, some of them, but yeah, I wish the names were on there. I could
Yeah, see,
probably
those
recognize
don't
them.
have any. That's
Getting back to this one, right back here. Now this, I could almost imagine this as being the school building.
Mhm.
And back here, it says lime and hair, like back at the barber shop.
Lime?
Lime, it says lime. Lime, on one line, and underneath it says hair. And there's other printing on the other side that I can't read. It's behind a bush.
Well, let me see if I can see where it
Back
is.
there.
You think that's from that one up on the corner here? Huh? I mean, oh
So the lime and hair is kind of a new building because it looks, bright pink.
yeah. Mhm.
just look at that
But
one.
this is where you think George Peterson lived?
Yeah,
That,
yeah. But that
see, a
doesn't
lot
make
of
sense.
buildings weren't there, but
Right.
maybe somebody had it
Lime and hair, strange combination.
Yeah, it is.
Now, this isn't like the wooden building, but that was later anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I sure don't know, but
See, this
that doesn't even look like a
No, I don't.
school or anything. It looks like a private home in a way.
This could be a country school, who knows where.
Yeah.
This one.
But, you know, these could include a lot of them, country schools even.
Some of these were from, if they have a KM on them, from K. Miller.
Oh, I
This is
see.
K.
Yeah.
Miller.
The K. Miller on there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he could find it quite a few.
So he doesn't know. Milty would have been the one to ask.
Yeah. This is a Model T Ford. Looks like he had a big family. The guy is smoking a cigar. Well, gosh, where the heck was that steering wheel that time? That's not a... You know what that car there? See, that ain't no Ford, you know, a Model T. That's a Franklin. That's a Franklin car.
What year did they make those?
Well, they quit making them. God, that's got to be somewhere in
Just
the
write that on the back.
teen. Yeah, that's got to be in before 1920 sometime, I would think.
Gas lanterns?
Yeah, I know they had them. Yeah, that's all you had. You didn't have headlights. You light them with a match.
Oh.
Yeah, and kerosene in them, and well, Fords had them too.
And what kind was this, you think?
A Franklin car.
Franklin.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I had to guess how old it was. I could put down 1920, but whether I'm right or not, I wouldn't know.
It's the early 20s.
Yeah.
Late 20s. Late 20s.
Did I ever give you a picture like this?
Oh,
Did I ever give you
I
one like that?
don't know. I
You
think
can
I
have
got
that one if you want. So
I
you can
really
have another one.
think I had that one. Yeah. Yeah, my cousin out of Chippewa Falls sent me a Krieger book here a week ago. He said that I hadn't seen him only once in 30 years, and I don't know where he got the idea that I wanted the Krieger book. I had one, but I didn't tell him. After I got it, I wasn't going to say nothing.
That's, let's see, the Crown Boys and Bartholomew. Is it Holly Bartholomew?
There was a Holly.
And
And the Crumbs?
the Crown. And
See, but
somebody
Holly
else.
Bartholomew would be younger than the Crumbs.
Does these have on there?
Does that say on here too?
Oh, we had another one that had the names on.
Oh, but if that's Holly Bartholomew on there, I don't know which one he'd be, you know. But I don't think he's the oldest
I
one.
almost think he's
Yeah,
the one,
yeah, that
the
could
one on
be.
the left-hand side.
Yeah, I remember Holly Bartholomew. He was boy was he. You know, they moved out of town so many years ago. Oh, here's the same ones again.
Yeah, that's
These are Crown Boys.
Harold and I don't know if it's both of them or.
Harold.
I can't
Yeah, they'd be
remember
more the
what it
age
sounds
of
like.
Holly Bartholomew. They'd be. There was another. You see, there was Louis Bartholomew, Herman Bartholomew, and then there was another one, and that was who that one belonged to. That was the other. I forgot his name too, but Herman and Louis I knew. Oh, that Louis Herman Bartholomew, he was our cop, you know. I'd tell you about the night he'd dig the ditches, he'd do all the work in town, he'd done everything. One night a guy got drunk and Herman took him down, threw him in jail. I seen the guy later and it was in the wintertime. He told me, he says, I don't mind getting drunk, I don't mind getting thrown in jail, but he says, he threw me in cold storage. That's just the words he told me. And there was no heat in that. Here's another one for each one to see. They put me in cold storage. No.
Does it look like anybody's store that they had around here?
Oh, I never got in the stores very much inside them days. Not in this part of it. I used to be in and deliver stuff, but
Was
wouldn't have any
Mercantile,
idea.
was that bigger than that, or was
Mercantile
that
wasn't very big, but
Hanson Mercantile?
that wasn't built that isn't built that long ago.
Oh,
And they tore it down, let me see, what years did they build that? Oh, I don't know, that must have been built in the
maybe.
40s. I think this looks older than that.
Yes, the woman in there looks.
Oh, I see. Yeah, if I could see.
It could have been the Funks or the Christensen or the.
Well, that store
any of
was
the-
only built for Emil Hansen. He built it, and he's the only one that run it until Tootie bought it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but his wife, her sisters used to work in there. It's another story I could tell you. I had a very good school teacher. And one day, them days, I lived down that street, so I had to go by the mercantile store. I went down there. When she says, "You going home for lunch?" And I said, "Yeah, Miss Crowley." I never did apologize to her. I should have told her. I did tell her the truth. But she says, "Would you pay my bill when you go home?" I said, "Yeah, I can pay it." So it was around $15, a lot of money them days. I went in, I didn't get no slip on it, I just paid it to a sister to Catherine Hansen. That was Emil's wife, was Catherine, but it was her sister working in there. And she took the money, and a month later, my teacher kept me over after school and asked me if I paid it, and I said, yes, I did. But she lived quite a few years, and I was always going to go and talk to her because I did pay the bill. But she never got credit for it, I guess. It makes you mad, you do this. I didn't know
That was a
anything.
history making.
Yeah, they were all, Edna worked there, Ingrid, and Gertie. Gertie's the one that took this money.
Crowley, she was Natalie's friend.
Well, that could have been.
They
Yeah.
moved to Eau Claire.
Edna, Ingrid, and who?
Or was that, I would think somebody else.
Edna, Ingrid, Gertie, and Kath. Oh, what the hell? Pete Wheatek, yeah.
Frank.
Yeah, she's married now. Her mother was the oldest one of the bunch of them 5 girls. I forgot her name. But her mother was, there was 5 of them and the 3 boys. The oldest one was Jim, and then it was Martin, and then it was a young guy that died young. He died young. Yep, there's the Christensen feed mill. Store. That's the one that I think John Christensen owned when he owned the feed mill.
That's Christian.
Yeah, I get a kick out of this one. Crumb Brothers, and that's Midway Bar,
Mm-hmm.
The sample room, boy, what a sample, huh? It's a good name for it.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm sure that was... See, my house that I lived, there was that big hardware store that Chubby Alberts' dad and another guy owned, and that was right in here. There was a driveway, but that was still standing. That burned down too, but then I was in the next house. So I was close to them 2 fires when they started out. Was I close?
Did this store eventually burn, or what happened to it?
It burned.
And when would this
it had to
Christensen store
burn.
burn?
In around the 1930. I would guess about that. I would have been 16. Yeah, pretty close, maybe 29. What? No, wait a minute, the Christensen store, that's it, huh? Well, it burned before that because that's where the Ford garage is, and they built that in 28. They built the Ford garage in 28, and that's where right where the store was. This must be, I don't think they ever had Kiel had a store in. You know what were in all those them things? You know what was in there, you think?
Hats.
Sure, women's hats. Sure, that was all women's hats.
Or look like hat boxes.
That's what they are. I'm pretty sure they are. I don't know whose store that was. That might have been Louis Crumb, but he was in Owen as far as I know. I never knew that he was in Withee.
These are probably men's hats. Everything in here looks like for men, actually.
I know it does, but they don't have the big boxes for men's hats, I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah, these are really, they really are tall.
Yeah.
This was Louis Crumb's store, you thought?
Well, I don't know, but I was in his store.
Wow. A lot of suits and stuff.
Yeah, they all look like all men's.
It has the tin ceiling.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. See, Keel's had one where the tavern is there.
Yeah.
They had and Keel handled a lot of good stuff. But he had a few groceries, but a lot of clothing. So I don't think that, it doesn't look like any of the Keels there.
Well, this is all clothing.
Mm-hmm. You know, that guy right there must be Benny Crum, huh? He's the one that owned the tavern.
Oops.
Oh, can you see it?
I don't know what I got on the back here.
Oh.
No, I don't. Let's see. What's on the back? The sample room was in the first building erected by William Velasquez in the, that's not William Velasquez, in the mid-1880s on the southeast corner of Division and Stockwell as a saloon in the village of Withee.
Oh.
For about 1900. That could be. I mean, this is the
But
Crum.
Crum did own that.
Yeah, no, that was Crum's, but there was a tavern there
Oh, yeah.
beforehand.
Oh,
Okay.
I don't remember when Crum had it. I remember afterwards.
Okay, here, looking in the back down this alley,
Mm-hmm.
there's all the wood piled up, lumber.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, yeah. Oh,
See, that's on this side of the, looks like it's on, the railroad tracks run over here.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, railroad tracks went over there. Yeah. But that lumber back there, boy, I don't
So I can't figure out the,
Never remember seeing that.
The Cantuk is what you're driving at, right?
That might be
yeah,
that Cantuk.
were the Broom and Cantuk supposedly in the same area?
Well, I really, I don't know. I don't know. But I know they had a broom factory someplace.
The windmill factory.
Yeah.
Oh.
I suppose they need water for,
There's the dentist.
if this is about 1900, they put the water system in 1907. So maybe they had their own, they had a water tower then. That's
This
what I
must have
needed.
been the butcher shop. And you don't know what year, because they got where they slice the meats here, don't they?
The wing, that's the grocery store.
Yeah, it could have been, because they probably carried meats and little of everything.
We had, it says Griffith, Carl, Rep,
Rep logo?
yeah. Dad?
Carl Rep logo? I know him. He made Chubby Albert's sister. But what else did it say there?
It says Griffith.
Well, see, Griffith.
Maybe there's
Owned.
two of the guys here?
Well,
There's two men
Griffith.
here.
Griffith owned that where the drugstore is now. There was a brick building there that Harry Thorson had for his meat market, and Griffith was in there before. And then he moved to own. He had that daughter, Marion Griffith, who married Eddie Went.
Oh.
That was the Griffith that used to live in Withee.
Where the drugstore is. Do you know what his first name was? No?
You mean Griffith?
Yes.
I
See where the
knew- I
drugstore
knew-
is.
Yeah, I knew it one time, but I can't remember anymore. Ray Griffith? Ray? Seemed to me that's was his name.
And his let's see now, Griffith's daughter
Yeah,
was,
Marion Griffith, who married Eddie Went, and yeah.
let's see, did she die now
Yeah, they're
too?
both dead. They're both dead, yeah. They didn't,
Marion.
one died pretty the same as the other one, and they didn't, both of them were healthy. Eddie got just like this all of a sudden. He was quick, Had a birthday party, One day I was into Donna's and all, and she had the tavern, and Eddie was getting pretty, not bad yet, but it was his birthday then. Hey, Eddie, I said, I'm going to buy you one of the best drinks in the house today. So I asked Donna for Drambuie. And the top shelf, she said she hadn't used it for years. She got it down. Eddie went, and I used to drink that when we get shined up. We'd drink the best they had then, see, but it was all this cheap stuff till we got shined up. Anyway, Eddie got a shot of that, and I took a shot of that. And I said to Donna, what does it cost now? And she says, well, it's $26 a bottle. But I didn't care. I want Eddie to have one of them. Yeah, that's the Ray. No, I shouldn't say it. I don't know if it was Ray Griffith or not. I knew him, and that's where we done a lot of our shopping. But there was a tire shop next to there, one of those places with tires in it. And
About where would that have been located?
right next to this building here that's Frankie's
Next
got now.
to, north of it, south of it?
South of it.
Oh, of that building?
Yeah. Oh, no.
Of the, this one right here? Of the Griffith store?
Yeah. That was that was where the drugstore is, I'm sure. And then there was one just south of that. And there was apartments upstairs, I remember. I remember Shocks lived in there, somebody named Shock. You ever hear them? And you knew the old man, Shock. They used to drink a little bit, and they'd fight a lot. They had 4 or 5 kids. Eddie Bergstrom's sister married one of the Shock boys. But anyway, one day, I think they lived upstairs, and the Shocks did. One day, the old man got killed. He jumped off the back porch or whatever happened. I think the old lady tripped him. Even at the time, I thought that's what happened, because they used to fight a lot. Oh, yeah. Damn memories, that's what I say. What the hell do I remember that for?
Was this store called Griffith's, or did it have a different name to it?
Well, he was in with Everett Capes' father was Griffith and Capes. I think that's the way it was. And I do think that Griffith left him and Capes run it for a while. I know Capes did run that store.
Jesse's dad?
No. Jesse Capes? No, it would have been his brother.
Oh.
Jess Capes was the one that worked at the hardware store, wasn't he? No, wait a minute. No. See, I was thinking of Melvin Erickson worked there. Wasn't Jesse Capes, that was Mac's father. He lived west along on the south side. This was his brother, lived on the north side. And Ernie Capes was his name. Ernie Capes and this Griffith, I'm sure they were partners for a while, then Ernie Capes ran it for quite a few years after that. I think that's about the time Harry Thorson took over. And that's a long time ago, too. Because I know during the wartime, I'd go there and try to buy something, and you had to have stamps, for steak, You didn't need stamps for hamburger. But he wanted, I'd bring in the stamps, and I said, well, I gotta have a steak today. No, he says, I don't know how he did that. He didn't have any steaks, he said. But, I know. He said, no, I'll grind up the steak for you. He wanted the ticket, for the coupon for the steak, but then I ground it up, he said, so he sold it to me as hamburgers. He get a steak price and you get the coupons, but then he sold it to me as hamburger. Didn't need coupons for hamburger, But I remember that. I knew he was cheating me, but what can you do about it, Cookies were worth about 15, 20 cents a pound that time, and he'd always charge me 40, 50 cents for cookies. Hard to get something sweet them days,
Now, where does this Carl Replogger come in?
Carl Replogger. His folks used to run the building where the new bank sits now. That's where the John Blunk was in there for years. You know that one?
Yep.
And that was Replogger's store. And I think they lived down the street from there. If I remember right, the house is gone. It's just down that street west where that church was, the Seventh-day Advent Church, just east of that house. And I'm pretty sure that was the Replogers. But there was 2 Replogel boys. They were all older than me, and I can't remember very good, but I know Carl Replogel married Chubby Alberts, his sister.
That's one of the boys.
Yeah, that was one of the boys. Yeah.
What kind of store was it? Was it General?
I don't think so. I don't know what it was. It might have been a kind of a restaurant, like, for all I know.
No,
We called it Replogel Store.
Because here it says,
remember that.
there's Griffith, but then it says Carl Replogo, Dad. Or maybe Carl Replogo's dad? No, he wouldn't have been a Griffith.
Well,
Well, this one looks, when they say his dad, he looks older than the other guy.
they were kind of a nice-looking family, I remember that. I don't know how Replogel would be in with Griffith.
But
Yes.
that isn't a first name here, is it?
No, that's the last
That's the
name.
last name?
I think it's the last name, yeah.
There's a livery then. Or did Blanc have the livery? Must have been before Blanc, the barn.
He didn't have the livery then, no.
Oh.
No. Well, now, wait a minute. He had the livery when he first bought that store, maybe, but he didn't.
No, after.
Yeah, many years later, he
But
didn't
maybe
have it.
when Lippico, or whatever their name is, maybe they had the livery along with this store.
Well, they had a horse barn back there. I don't think they ever had a livery, but you know, that's possible that it was one back there. Because I remember they built it in about 24, 25. Yeah, it could have been.
What do you remember about the cemetery? What's your earliest recollections? Riverside Cemetery.
Well, I know it's a big place, and about 40 years ago, Martin Paulson used to run it, you know, and he always asked me if I'd come out and trim all the markers, you know, take scissor and now you spray them, they don't cut the grass off. I said, yeah, I said, I'll come out. So I'd go out there and work a few days. But that's when this end was going already, you know.
The new part.
Yeah, and I clean off all these markers, you know, and, you know, even then, 40 years ago, you know, I knew most of the people that were out there, and they were my age, you know. Here I was cutting the grass around their markers.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, I thought to myself, what am I doing out here, you know? It didn't make you feel too good.
There's a great big marker out there, and I think it's Walter H. No, is it Walter H. Smith?
There's a Smith, a big one, big square one.
Great big square one, right.
Yeah.
And he died in 1903.
Well, if I had to guess who it ever was, would be the Smith that lived north of town that had the sawmill, you said.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it might have been him, but I don't know either.
Edward.
Yeah, Edward Smith's father. But I don't know what it says on the marker.
He signed his name. I want to think it's Walter H. Smith or something like that. I have it at home, but I can't remember what it is.
Well, I
Seems
don't
like
know
it's-
either.
Do you know how that cemetery got started?
No, I don't know.
Now, was the town of Hickson bigger than it is now?
Not that I know of.
Always was 6 by 6.
I think so, yeah.
There's someplace in one of those old books, it sounded like Longwood was part of it.
Well, Hickson, apparently, it sounds like it covered a lot more, and they divided Hickson up
Well, isn't the
into...
township 6 by 6?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. But when did they establish that as a...
Oh, that I don't know. But see, the cemetery out here, my folks are buried on the other side. My grandpa and them, they're on the west side, see. This east side got started, and you might remember that, but, you know, there used to be a house sitting on that corner. You know where that big tuft marker is there now?
Yeah.
There was a house sitting there. And, you know, them days had a tavern in every corner and house, you know, I mean, and I think it was a tavern at one time.
Either a tavern or cheese factory, one of the...
Well, if it was a cheese, I don't remember.
No, I mean,
the
every
cheese
corner
factory.
over
Oh,
there.
yeah, that's right. You're right there. But, no, I remember they used to have a good apple tree there, and I knew the people that lived there, and I think Floyd Brandt even lived on that farm, or that house for a while.
Joe and Fred's brother? Or
No,
relative?
no, they would have been there's a relation there, but they weren't Joe and Fred's brother, no. This guy's father's name was Dick Brandt, but Floyd lived down there. And
We're trying to figure out when the village of Withee, city of Owen, and the township of Hickson ever got together to establish that, or take over. Maybe they took it over as a as an organization or
Well,
whatever.
you know, something like that had to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened otherwise. I really don't know.
I went out the other day to see what the oldest monuments were, and there was one from 1895.
Oh, yeah.
And then this Smith one was the next one, 1903.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, they were the oldest one then.
And there was a article in one of the older papers, and it said that they based everything at the cemetery. We have a picture from, there maybe were about 30 stones there.
Oh, yeah.
And it said that whenever you were describing anything where a stone was, a marker was, the Smith one was the one that it's so far from
I
the
see.
Smith.
reference.
Yeah, the reference
Oh, yeah, I
point.
see. Oh, yeah. No, I didn't really know much about it as far as that goes. But you know that the big monument that the Tufts put in, That was put in by Bernard Tufts and Jenny Tufts. And I knew both of them.
Did you know a John Tufts?
No.
That's the other monument, and he was killed in the Spanish-American War, 1898.
Oh, yeah, no.
And so there's a marker there. It doesn't put the year down, but it says killed in the Spanish-American War.
Well, he must have been a relation to others. See, Bill Tuft got to be a banker, and he went to Marshfield. And Dan Tuft, he got to be a plumber and drinking beers, about all he ever did. Because I used to bring him over the beer. He'd knock on the window, and he'd put up 2 fingers. He had a friend over there on 2 bottles of beer today. I lived right next to him. You know. When he pounded on that window, it'd pretty near fall out because the windows are that bad. But he was right next door, and I always took care of him. And so he had plenty of beer. Oh, yeah, that was